guys, welcome to the Youth Pulse podcast. This is me Diko Di Andrew and this is the 23rd episode of it all. له دائما في كل حلقة بيجيب لكم موضوع جديد وضيوف كمان جداد. It's all about youth and whereby we are going to be speaking from our hearts. So why not we dive into our today's topic. We're going to be speaking about combating child labor, and as I mentioned that we do have an interesting guest. So why not introduce them as we are going to be enjoying together. Hello.
Hello.
Hi ladies.
How are you?
Good afternoon, good morning, good night. I don't know what time they're going to be watching this.
Wherever they'll be listening from.
Okay, you can just go ahead, introduce yourself, and as well what other extra talent you have. If you're working, if you're a student, you can just go ahead.
Thank you so much, Diko, for having me. My name is Grace Nyewich.
Okay.
I am working. I am a project development officer for an organization called Foundation for Youth Initiative.
Okay.
I work in the area of agriculture, youth, women, and entrepreneurs. It is quite very interesting because 80%, or rather 70%, of South Sudanese youth are in the area of business. So it is a very good topic for me because I feel so passionate about it. And I think it is great because we're going to explore a lot on that and see how it cross-cuts with everything else.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's professionally. Like, what about the talent? Do you sing? Do you draw?
My talents, I like to paint,
Okay.
but I definitely don't draw. I
Okay.
like painting, I love reading books, and I like being in the outdoors, going
Okay.
for hikes and such. Yeah.
Interesting. And
Hello, my name is Nyawich Kwong Nirao. I am the Gender and Inclusion Coordinator in Assistant Mission for Africa, whereby I deal with a lot of things regarding gender and inclusion, diversity, and all of that. In my field of work, we work with a lot of children. This is why this is very also interesting. One of my talents, I can say, I'm multi-skilled, I can say.
okay.
I paint, I draw, I sew, I make clothes.
Wow.
Nice.
Yeah, I can say that for now.
Okay. So I can just say that this is Nyawich and this is Nyawich Square.
Yes.
We can go like this, right?
Yeah, you can call me Grace. That's
Okay.
my other name. That's
It's
okay.
all right. And as we did the introduction, we are going to be talking about child labor. When you hear about child labor, like what does it mean to you? And as well for you, like why is it a problem when it comes to child labor?
Okay. When I hear the term child labor, what comes into my mind is, of course, work. And children being involved in this type of work means that it's any mental, any social development, any physical development of a child that makes them get harmed in any way through work is child labor. It is a problem because it subjects children into a position where they can't develop mentally, they can't develop physically, they can't develop socially. It interferes with their education, it interferes with their growth, and this puts a child in a position of responsibility where they have to take care of themselves and other people that are around them. And of course, they cannot become a child. They stay as an adult in a child's body. So when I hear child labor, that's how I can simply term it. Yeah.
Which one might be the problem causing child labor?
We can say one of the biggest problems that I've noticed is poverty.
Yeah.
If a child is raised up in a family that they are poor, they are then forced to go feed themselves outside. And with that, they're forced to go look for jobs outside. They're forced to do manual labor, and that prohibits them from going to school, which again, this prevents them in the future from becoming somebody or helping the community in any way or the society. This also puts them back into poverty. It becomes a cycle. And I think child labor is the biggest pusher, or like the biggest coin dropped for the kids to go, for poverty.
Yeah. But it's still, I feel like sometimes there are some families that are okay, but maybe it's that they do have maybe a stepfather, a stepmother, or it's a family relative, so they just push them just out of, I don't know, there's this hatred or hasada, let me say, because they push the kids outside. For instance, there is a story, a child of 7 years. That was 3 years back or 4 years back. I mentioned that story one time on the podcast. That very child, he was in Suklibia at around 7 p.m. he was young and selling eggs. Then we asked like, okay, this boy, what is he doing around the market at this time? So we asked him and said like, I need to sell these things. If I didn't sell it, my mother is going to Ajada to make me sleep outside of the house. 7 years.
Is that the biological mom?
Yes, that's a biological mom, because we even asked him, okay, you're 7, I bet you don't know how to boil an egg. So who boils for you the egg? He mentioned that my mother is the one who does that. Okay, what does your mother do? Or guide best for bed circuit. And the distance from Suklibia, and they stay up to Mangaten.
Yeah.
And look at the distance at 7 p.m. Then we ask like, okay, how do you guys go back home? Then he mentioned like there's some friends of his around that they also do some same businesses. They gather at a certain location, then they live together. Then I say like, what if the money get lost or something? Gangal, I don't go home. I get the money, then I go home. 7 years. So you can just see some of the stories as well.
Commenting on the story that you've given, that's a very good background. And with such a case, I would definitely look at the dynamic and the background of the family. Probably the parent is a single parent. They probably don't have a father. And as South Sudanese, we've lived so many years of war. And with the years of war that we have lived through, people have lost their parents, including children. They've lost their parents in the process of war. So with such a child, given such a case, you would look at the dynamics. How are they in their family? Is there a father? Is there a male figure in that family? And if not, that means the mother is the only person who is taking care of this family. Therefore, they need a hand, a helping hand. And in this case, the helping hand would be a child. I would also ask a follow-up question. Was it a boy child or
A boy.
A boy? Yeah. So again, boy child in this country, they're looked as, they need to be men. So if there is no man in that family, he has to assume that role. And he's constantly being told, you're a man, you're a man, you're a man. So the only alternative he has is to help the mother. And for them, school is not an option, because already, if he's going to be on the roadside selling, that means they do not have any resources. There's no money. There's no resources for them to have a basic or good education. So I think, also the family dynamic, where the children, are they loved? Are they cared for? You know, it's also something that can push children into child labor and get into such tasks where they have to sell things on the roadside, where they have to push the wheelbarrows just to make money. So it is indeed a real problem.
In another hand, I feel like, have you watched that video that it was trending for that young boy who was, he have a very nice smile. He goes, my name is Ali, I think. He was just so happy, jolly face, like they ask him, where are you coming from? Ana jam in Shogol. Then like, why? Ana Shanana Raji, like, I said like, okay. At that age, like he have taken the responsibility to work. But in another perspective, Nyawit, like I would love to ask, like, how does child labor affect children's education and future perspective as well?
I'll just give you a story of last year. I went to field in Yirol.
Yes.
And we had this man who was proudly saying that he has around 5 wives, and each wife he has given them land, and whatever they do is up to them. Whatever the kids eat is up to her. So this, I also wanted to comment on what she said. You have to look at the family dynamic. That also happens. And we're not just looking at Juba. We're looking at the whole of South Sudan. So this man was like, well, if the mother gets money for school fees, that's fine. If he does not get money for school fees, that's also fine with me. As long as I know I have children and they're okay, that's okay with me.
And he has also given them land. So
and he has given them land. So whatever they do is up to them. If the child gets sick, it's up to the mother. If the child is not sick, it's up to the mother. So
it means if the mother is not smart enough, that will be an end for her.
And you know, if the children see all of these things that the mother is doing, sometimes you feel a bit guilty on your own. And other times the mother might be upset that your father is the one who's doing this to me. So you need to go outside and work, or you need to go outside and toil this thing. And with that, we have seen so many kids, they would not go to school in the morning. They'll be digging the land outside. They'll dig the land, they will not go to school. You ask them, why are you not going to school? They say, oh, I need to help my mom. Oh, nobody's eating in the house. Oh, I need to go sell these peanuts at the market. And sometimes they would even tell you the school is far, which is another thing. We don't have school that is close. And walking, especially for women, for the girls, is an issue because the distance is long and anything can happen.
Yeah, for
within
them
that
in the
distance.
roadside. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. What are the some of dangerous walking?
Sorry,
Okay,
Kiko,
it's
just to
okay.
add on to that. I think also it boils down into the value of education that our society has placed on education. So education is really not valued. That means work comes first and then education comes after.
Yeah.
So it's either if you have girls, they're going to get married. So education is not a big deal. They'll get to probably class 3, class 4. And then if anybody comes and
They'll drop
expresses interest, you can marry them off. So education is really not at the top of the list. Now is when people are being aware that education is important, because when you have education, you have empowered your children and they can become people. They can look forward into the future and look at it as a way of getting out of this poverty. So if education is not valued, it means that this child is just going to forever be a child that knows that I'm going to take care of my father's cows as a woman or as a girl child. I'm just being groomed for marriage.
Yeah.
So education is something that we really need to talk about a lot, because that is the only other way, and that will be the only escape route out of child labor. So if education is not being given that importance, then child labor is going to be very hard to eradicate, because mothers and fathers or families who are bringing up these children will not understand really what it means for a child to be in school.
Okay.
So yeah.
How do you think, what are the dangerous conditions that a child could be placed in child laboring? Maybe you will have some other ideas about it. The dangerous conditions of working, the working condition for child labor. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give an example. I'm in the agricultural sector. I studied crop production and horticulture. And when it comes to agriculture, we deal with heavy machinery, we deal with tractors, we deal with trucks, we deal with machines, we deal with pesticides. So you can imagine if you have a 14-year-old child that has to carry a knapsack sprayer that has insecticides or herbicides, and they have to operate it, pump it just to, spray it around the crop. It's very hard, because you have, first of all, you have to be in protective gear. So if this child is going to be in such an environment, they're going to be exposed to a lot of health risks. That means this child is either going to be exposed to respiratory problems because of, the chemicals that they're handling. They also risk having these machines, run them over or fall, because they do not know how to operate. They're just there for manual work to get their money and to leave. They're not experts in that area. So there's a lot of health risks where they can be physically harmed in one way or another.
Okay.
Yeah.
How do you think the laws and the rules and regulation can help in child labor in South Sudan? Because I bet that there are laws and regulations that are being placed by the government, but are they being implemented, or even like when it comes to it, like how we can maneuver with it?
We have the laws.
Yes.
The laws are there.
Yeah.
The implementation is the problem. I think it has become so common, and so it's just now common. It's in our culture that kids at a certain age, they're supposed to be outside working.
Yeah.
So now that becomes a different problem. We're not just dealing with the law now, we're dealing now with the culture. And the culture, as us Sudanese, we're very proud of our culture. It's very hard to get rid of the bad things.
Yeah.
It takes time, and it takes a lot of effort to try and change these things. So the laws are there. I think it's just that it's a system that's working for most families now, and they don't feel like they have any need to change. They don't see the impact in the future, which is another problem, which is why I agree with what she's saying. We need to focus more on education, because we're not just educating the kids. We're not just educating the children. We need to also educate the leaders. We need to educate the policemen. We need to, like anybody who is in power, they need to be educated. The parents to start with, because they are the ones who are going to direct how the children are going to go at the end of the day. So we need to educate them in that sense.
Okay.
The laws are there. We even have, I think, the education law, which is in 2012, I think, where it says that every child has a right to go to school, but are you seeing the right being implemented?
That's for sure.
Most people don't care because the system is working for them.
And even to make it worse, I have too many stories about child labor.
Yeah.
Our neighbor, unfortunately, she passed away. She used to be taking a lot of alcohol. So what happened? She have four children, 3 boys and 1 girl. And the girl, she decided that she got some small capital. She started like Amolo Tisali. So she sell the tisali in mind that if she's coming back, she save the little fi dukan, the little that she's having, or burabi bomola. If she reach at home, the mother will start fighting her. Why? Where are you getting the money? You bring the money here. Obijibu guru bidugo. Like they will beat her up. Like she will be screaming. The whole area will come to her rescue. But still, she will force the daughter to go and get the little that what she saved. And they will spend it. And if there is no there's no food tomorrow, she's now the same person who is going to be pleading with the daughter. And the daughter was how old? She was 13. And looking into a 13-year-old with the criminal activities that we are having, maybe she will get, for instance, God forbid, raped on the roadside or beaten, even being theft around. Like, how is it going to be like? So sometimes I feel like it's the parents at the end of the time. So I love when you mention that we also need to be educating the parents first, because they're the one will be directing the kids around. But it's still, when it comes to us sticking to tradition, how do you guys think the role of education play in contributing or preventing child labor?
Okay. Of course, like we have said before, education plays a very big role, because this is the basic thing, or a basic requirement, and it's a basic right for the child. So when the child is in school, they're being shielded from so many things that would have happened to them, because when the child is in school, their mind is already somewhere, they're already doing something, they're already busy, so they're not thinking of other things. So education acts as a shield, shielding this child against things like exploitation, because for example, if this child is working in a farm or in a mine, they can be exploited by people that are older than them in that particular place. But if a child is in school where there are regulations and there are rules, and there is a headmaster and there is also somebody who is above the headmaster, there's that sense of responsibility that the teachers have, that when this child is in school, they're in our hands and they're in our care. So as parents, when your kids go to school, you place the hope in the teachers that are there, that your child is going to be under the right care. So education, I would say, will act as a shield, preventing this child from being exposed to all these things that we have talked about, like, for example, the exploitation, the health risks, and, this physical pains that they could be exposed to.
I want to add, as much as education shields the children, we have to also remember that South Sudan, we have been through war, and some of the people in the grassroots are poor at this point. So with them, they will be taken to school, yes. But remember, in school, we need school fees, we need books, we need uniform, we need all of these things. And some of these kids are being forced again to go outside and work so that they can get books, uniform, these extra things. In some of the schools, they actually ask the kids to come with a bag of cement.
As a requirement?
Yeah.
What?
As a requirement, bags of cement or even bricks. You need to come with either one of those things to help build the school.
Yeah.
And if the parent has struggled enough just to pay the tuition fee, not even the uniform, how do you expect the parent to come with bags of
bricks
cement
and
bricks? So they are forced again to go back outside
and
work so that they can be able to come with these things and give to school. As much as it shields them, it also exploits them, because they're now forced to go back outside, which is why we need to change some of the systems in the country.
Okay, that's in regard to education. What about our communities? I feel like also the community also can contribute into preventing child labor. So how do you think communities can support families to prevent child labor?
I think we have, I don't know if it's the Child Law or the Child Act. They are permitted to work after they reach 14, but it's only supposed to be light labor, not intensive labor like mining and carrying things and walking around the market. It's something that has to be light. So I think we can start there.
Okay.
If they're going to work, if they have to work,
how old are they?
They need to be above 14 and they need to have, and they need to be working light labor, because at this point we can't escape it once, like Marawahi, like this, we can't escape it. This is something that needs to work gradually. So if they really, really have to work, let it be 14 and above, and let it be light labor.
And with that law, I there's a time one of my siblings took it so personal that this is child labor by washing dishes at home. It's okay. Then I end up the guy like, so now if you know the law, which means you're not a child anymore, because like how do you know that there is a law that it's stating that like a child should not be doing some work if you're not 14, like if you're below it, you don't do it. So I said, like, now you know the law, which means you're already another
Yeah.
So like it's just crazy. What are some successful initiative or programs that have helped reduce child labor in your own understanding?
There are a lot of initiatives that have been going on to help with child labor, to help in stopping child labor. So we have initiatives like cash-based initiatives where parents so there is this grouping system that is done by most of the UN agencies, where we have the child-headed household, we have female-headed households, we have elderly-headed households. So with such, there's an initiative where they're given cash so that they can be able to help themselves. So if you are given cash, then you can be able to plan yourself accordingly. So that means even your children are going to be part of that plan. So that means if you have your money, you plan yourself. You can also plan having your kids going to school. You can also plan opening for yourself a small business that can generate for you more income that you can use to also take care of your children around the house. So I think cash-based initiatives have worked because it has put people on a higher level where they're able to take care of themselves. Because, money is very essential. It is needed. Now you have to use money to, get your way around, buy food, put clothes on your back, have water. So I think, that's a very good initiative that has been happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
And with you and your read, do you think young people, how could young people get involved into fighting against child labor? Because 75% of the population are youth, and this is us, and we're talking about our future here. Like, how do you think young people can contribute into preventing or working against child labor?
I could start by focusing more on now the older generation first. There are some roles that they're occupying.
Yes.
They need to let go of them.
Yes.
At this point, you're too old.
Yes.
With that time, they can educate the younger youth, or somebody who can be able to take over.
But you say, like, in what you're saying, someone mentioned that there is a generational gap. Like, as the youth, and Namade Rasma, Nas Kubarinde, there is Yala Nas Kubarinde, they will not accept that they are going to be changed or recorrected by a young person just because that they're old. That's why there is that intergenerational gap as well.
Yeah, it's a huge gap, by the way.
Yeah.
Now, how do we deal with that? How do we deal with that?
Yeah.
I feel like most of the youth are not educated, and it's purely because of the conflict, because of poverty, and some just don't even have the means to go where they're going. Some are even, let's say, crippled or blind or other things. So I feel like we just need to, we start with the older generation, let them direct their efforts towards the young generation. No matter how much the gap is, like, at the end of the day, they're going to die. They're going to die.
That's for
and
sure.
Who are they going to leave this place for?
Yeah.
If if the younger generation doesn't know anything, or doesn't know how to handle these big positions that they have, how are we going to move forward as a country? I think we can start there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And even with that, I feel like also at some point, let's take education as a point. A scholarship been issued, right? Some of the youth went outside that they studied and they got the certificate, but I feel like they don't still trust us. They don't trust us at some point. So I don't know what might be the reason. Is it the more shots that we are keep doing when we are sitting for our examination, or what might be the reason as well? So it's just a lot to be tackled. But
even we don't have jobs
Yes.
anymore.
Hmm.
I think we have so many unemployed youth.
Yes. Yeah.
Maybe the youth can we can do some initiative, or like we can focus our efforts and our strength and our youthfulness on something like agriculture, on something like business, on something like, I think you can speak more on agriculture.
Yeah, I can.
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, so I was thinking about something else before she came up with that, but looking at it, truth has to be said. I think we need a system overhaul. I think there's need for a radical change. You guys were talking about this generational gap that is there.
Yeah.
And I believe with every generation, the culture changes, right? So as she was speaking about the generation that was before us, that liberated this country, I think there's also this need of that generation working together with us, right? And working together with us means that they need to really come up with developmental initiatives.
Yeah.
Our country is still young. There's still a lot that needs to be in place. There's still a lot of systems that need to be set up so that our country can continue running. For example, prioritizing education. I will still go back to that. We need to prioritize education. Even some of the generation that was back, that we are now coming after, this is our fathers and everybody else. Not all of them, are educated. Not all of them understand what it means to have an education. And without that understanding, they won't look at it as an important thing for us, this coming generation. So I think the system needs to, change. We need to put systems in place so that the youth can thrive. Like, we are the ones who are holding this country. Most of the youth are the ones that are outside. These are the people that are making the teas outside. These are the people that are driving the cars, distributing water and all that. So if you empower them, if you give them skills, if you give them that education and make them better, then our country doesn't even have to rely on aid. We don't even have to be dependent on aid and such.
Yes.
You see, because you have empowered your youth through education, through developing their skills and meeting them at their point of needs. So I think changing of the system radically needs to happen.
Okay. Last, what can we do as to make awareness about the issue of child labor, as we being the Gen Zs? Because we can be using social media as one of it. We can just be maybe creating initiative, maybe engage with the people in the rural areas as well, talking to them. But there are many ways that we can even set awareness about child labor. But in your own ideas, what do you think about it?
We can start with lobbying and advocating for some of the laws to be changed.
Okay.
Or for some of the laws to actually be implemented.
Yes.
Because I think that's the first step. If people know this is wrong and they are afraid to do it because it is wrong, it's going to leave a bigger mark than just knowing it is wrong, but nothing is going to happen. Yeah.
Okay.
I think a lot of talking has to happen. Dialogues, people have to talk. We youth also have to fight for ourselves by lobbying and advocating and saying, yes, this is important to us and we are the future generation. So you must listen to us and you have to change. You have to change and make South Sudan better for all of us. So, yeah.
Also, I want to add on what she said earlier. I think most of the youth here, they just see an office job as the real deal.
Yes.
That is it. That is
That's
the top
for
tier.
sure.
If you don't
Yes.
have an office job, you're nothing. We have people who are tailors. We have so many tailors that are coming from Uganda, so many tailors that are coming from Kenya.
Even all the way
Why-
from Nigeria.
Even makeup artists. We can start there.
Yes.
Why do we have to go outside the country to get something that maybe somebody in the country
Yes.
can be able to do?
Yeah.
So let us just stop thinking about office as the end.
Yeah, we need to believe in ourselves and our presence as youth in South Sudan has to be accommodated for, because I believe that we can make a very huge change if we are if we are given the platform to do what we can.
Okay.
Yeah. I suggest we all become farmers.
So,
Farmers have a lot of money.
There is a lot of
there's a
money in
story
farming.
I found in Sudan that the guy was an onion seller, and he got about more than $50,000. Even the bank was so shocked, you're just an onion seller and you just have this amount of money. Everybody was saying now we are going to become
Exactly.
onion sellers.
You see, that's also another mindset. Thank you for bringing that up, because as an agriculturalist, I would say that people really look down on agriculture. But we also forget that it's the backbone of many economies in Africa.
Yes.
And the youth also try to shy away from agriculture because in their minds, agriculture is all about, labor. What we're talking about,
Yes.
again, it's all about, just farming, taking your rakes and everything.
Yeah.
But there is more to agriculture. There is a lot that can be done in agriculture. And now the good thing is that youth are now into technology, and you can also use that technology in agriculture and make a very big change. So
That's
it's
for
just
sure.
not about digging, it's not about production alone. It is a whole value chain, and it involves a lot. It involves logistics, it involves the production. This is from the land, the farmer, and all that. It also, delivery is also part of it, which youth do nowadays. Youth have borders, and they take things from one place to another.
Yeah.
So we also need to change our mentality and just not look at agriculture as just digging, but try to see where can I fit in agriculture, because it's a whole chain,
Yeah.
so
That's for sure. Anyway, it's always beautiful whenever it comes to the Youth Pulse podcast. The time really runs so fast, but we came to an end of our today episode that have been combating about child labor. Hope it was informative. Hope it was inspiring, and as well, we are going to be remembering this. But every action counts, and it starts from you and me, and by promoting all whatever that we have mentioned. If you have missed, just go and check it because it's going to be posted on Facebook and YouTube. But from me to you, a very lovely good morning and afternoon and good night from me. Bye bye.
The Youth Pulse podcast, speaking from our hearts.